Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome to Bharat Marg and welcome Vinay Ji, Political Analyst from Toronto. Thank you again for joining Bharat Marg. Thank you for the viewers for watching. And friends, today we are going to discuss about Canadian horror story of discrimination and racism. Okay, this is absolutely mind blowing. We are going to discuss about Indigenous women, what they went through, and things like that with Vinay Ji. And before going further, please make sure to like the video, comment on the video to include in the conversation, and also share the video as much as you can. And also, friends, if you are here for the first time, please make sure to subscribe to the channel Bharat Mark, and also press the notification button to make sure that you get informed as we go live. Okay, and uh, Vinay Ji, thank you for joining us in Bharat Mark. Okay, this is about a horror story. You know, Canada, discrimination, racism. It is said that they are on the way up on the humanitarian this thing, and democracy and all those things. What's happening, Vinayji?
Um, this is not the first time that this has happened. So let's talk about this particular case where a First Nation lady was discriminated against by in a hospital in Alberta, actually. So
Mm-hmm.
apparently, this happened sometime almost 2 years ago, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure why she took 2 years to come out into the open and complain. But I guess, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
people go through trauma, people go through a lot of sufferings, and they also feel a little unsure, and maybe, even afraid to come out and say things in the open. Maybe, that's what probably prevented her from coming out into the open, but eventually she did,
Yeah,
and
come a
which
little
is
bit
good.
closer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and which is good. So
Mm-hmm.
so now basically what happened was, she was actually pregnant at the time, about 2 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
after consulting with her obstetrician, she said she went to the Misericordia Community Hospital in Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
And also, just keep in mind that she's from the Cree First Nation as well, and this lady. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, so basically, her name is Gambler. Okay. And so she basically was, went with a positive attitude to this hospital, saying that, she would be treated properly because her obstetrician, directed her to that hospital. And so basically, when this whole thing was going on, the baby was born, but it was alive and gasping for air. So it had a
Mm-hmm.
huge, I think, ventilator issue or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in about 20 minutes right after the baby was born, the nurses, several nurses arrived, and they cut the umbilical cord, and then told the
Mm-hmm.
mother and her partner that their daughter was gone. And they actually, that was the heart rate at the time uh, when the baby went through, or when she went through, fetal abnormalities, right? The fetal heart rate was about 149 beats per minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she actually arrived at the hospital, and this was on June the 3rd, on the
Mm-hmm.
10th of June, she visited her obstetrician again with abnormal pain, and on the 11th, she actually was directed to the hospital. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, all this kind of happened in sequential order. And when she actually was in the ward, and when the baby was gone, so the kind of the comment that the ladies, the nurses made, were really absolutely unacceptable. um, so the doctors, or sorry, the nurses actually came to her and said, so do you want your specimen taken home, or do you want to leave it here, or what do you want to do? Like, do you
Means they
see
call the baby
the
specimen.
best baby a specimen? And that was
Wow.
like totally unacceptable. And then the when she asked, about her daughter, who are you talking about? The person said, the staff person said, yeah, we are talking about your daughter. And so the gambler insisted that her daughter, who was born alive, would be coming home with her, would be receiving, and she would be receiving a proper burial. She was not dead when she was born. She was not a still baby. It was an actually
Hmm.
breathing and alive baby. But within
Right.
minutes, the baby, they lost the baby, right? And she
Right.
told the doctors and the staff person that, look, this baby was born alive. Okay, to me,
Hmm.
it has to go through a proper burial. So
Hmm.
please hand over my baby, and then I will take the baby and do the proper, do the needful. So this is what
Hmm.
happened. And then she had a follow-up appointment with her obstetrician on June the 29th. And this happened on the 11th, right? So 18 days later,
Hmm.
she had an appointment with her obstetrician. And she went and asked, like, what really went wrong. So the obstetrician told her that she had a healthy baby girl, and that she needed to get pregnant again, and that she would return to work, and she could return to work to distract her mind. This was 2 weeks after Miss Gambler lost her child and experienced emotional, psychological, and physical trauma. So coming back to this whole story, right? Like, you know, racism and discrimination is exists in all forms, and they have no place within the Covenant Health, which is the hospital. And then the hospital, when as soon as they kind of heard about the whole incident, they were like, oh, this is Covenant Health takes any and all complaints and concerns seriously, including allegations of racism and discrimination. And due to privacy legislation, we are unable to provide further commentary on or discuss any specific patient information. And racism and discrimination in all forms have no place within Covenant Health. So this was the statement
Hmm.
that was released by the Misericordia Community Hospital. So
Hmm.
you can understand, like, it was a pretty straightforward statement. But
Hmm.
this lady is gambler is not standing. I mean, just taking all this and just lying down. So she actually went and spoke to her the chief of her the Cree Nation, her tribe,
Hmm.
and they have actually are asking for the following actions to be taken: full implementation of the health recommendations of the 94 calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, none of which have been completed; a public inquiry; a hospital-wide review of systemic anti-indigenous discrimination at the hospital; implementation of increased and regular indigenous cultural training across Alberta healthcare system; ongoing measurement and annual reporting by the province of Alberta on Indigenous equity; expanded network of independent Indigenous patient advocates to ensure adequate coverage at every hospital; increased funding for Indigenous-led, Indigenous-focused healthcare programs and facilities; province-led consultations with Indigenous people and communities to develop and implement further recommendations to improve their health; and
Hmm.
those responsible for what happened to Pearl and their family to be held accountable. These are the things that she's asking for.
Right. But how in the world they will call that as baby as a specimen? Huh?
Exactly.
This is
Exactly.
this is just over the line.
This is unacceptable and unbelievable. And this is okay. Just to kind of give you this little bit of background, right? This is not the
Hmm.
first time this has happened. I mean, like,
Hmm.
we've heard these stories about a lady by name, another Indigenous lady from Lethbridge. Her name
Hmm.
is Marissa Smoke, and
Hmm.
uh, and she was apparently suffering from severe abdominal pain This happened last year, actually, 2021.
Mhm.
And the ambulance came, and she apparently explained her issues and what her fears were. And she was going in and out of consciousness. And then she may be suffering from ectopic pregnancy, and wanted to see her doctor. And basically, the way she was treated, the female nurse apparently who came to help her out said that uh, you know uh, you are overreacting to your pain. And apparently smoke was in extreme pain, and she was unable to bear it. And then a nurse came, and she heard yelling at she was heard yelling at Smoke to stop
Mhm.
acting like an idiot. These were her words.
Oh, really?
Yeah. and and
My
and
God.
then and then I'm sorry, I got to use this language because I don't want to censor anything here. She said that we are here to help you. We don't need to take your shit and for you to give us attitude. This is what the nurse said. So
To,
so
to the lady with the pain.
no, this is what the nurse told
And
the
and
lady with the.
and where they say that people coming from other countries don't have the experience of how to become a nurse, how to deal with the patients gently, and you need to have Canadian
Yeah,
experience.
and these are all local nurses who have local qualifications,
How
local
unbelievable
credentials.
this is.
Yeah, and she is treating her patient who is in pain like 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 dirt, literally.
Right,
And that's
absolutely.
not the way hospitals should be working. And that's what Smoke later mentions, that I definitely felt racially profiled because I was supposedly lying about a pregnancy and not dealing with the real issue. And just because I'm indigenous doesn't mean I have an addiction to opiates. Those were the things, right? And people look at these people, indigenous people, and there's a heck of a lot of discrimination going on. And again, in Quebec, there was another incident a little while ago, similar incident, where a lady was not treated properly in a hospital. And these things are going on and on. And we have to stop this. I mean, somebody has to stop this. The government has to stop this.
Uh, I have two questions to you. Okay, one is from Girinathanji. Okay, he is saying, he is saying how it happened in democracy forums, or is democracy forums failing. They don't even give a little bit of attention to what is happening in countries like in Canada. How come? So-called democracy forum, because they see the skin color and then they talk about it, or they only see through the window and not the mirror. How does it all work, the democracy
No,
forum
the
guys?
thing is, like, in Canada, there are lots of these kind of uh, you know um, NGOs and organizations that actually are there to
Making a lot of
protect you.
money.
Yeah, they're all there. I don't know what their agenda is, but they get registered, they get charity status, they get a lot of grants from the government. And they're all, their main mission statement is, we are here to protect the minorities, we are here to protect the indigenous people, we are here to fight for the rights of these people. But end of the day, like, this is not stopped, this is going on. And especially in provinces that, where it has happened, it's happening over and over again. In Quebec, it has
But
happened
see,
over and
you
over
are
again.
talking about Vinayji. I have a question from my side. Okay, you are talking about Canadian government protecting the discrimination and racism. Okay, but I want to say, you know that incident, right, where the Canadian government went behind a indigenous girl who couldn't pay some few $100 on the dental thing, dental fees. They went and made the case, spending tens of thousands of dollars to collect the hundreds of dollars from her.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that vaguely.
This is
Actually,
the same Trudeau
I don't know
government.
the details. But yeah,
You know,
so
the girl earned a few $100,
yeah,
and she was asking for an apology, forgiveness for the dental thing. She went through it and she couldn't pay. And
right,
Trudeau government went behind her, spending tens of $1,000 to correct this hundreds of dollars,
yeah. No, it's the thing is,
just
it's
because she was indigenous girl.
yeah. So this is the irony of what happens to the indigenous people or any person, any minority, right? I mean, like
Any
if people
minority,
say
let's say, yeah.
racism doesn't exist in Canada, the government takes care of it. Canada is actually, if you look at that best countries to live in, Canada is in the top five. Always, like, maybe number one, number two, or number three, or whatever, right? They look at all the aspects of, like, whether it's the discrimination, whether it's job opportunities, whether it is social well-being, so many things, right? So Canada always comes at the top. But for people who actually live here, we know the truth, because these are all surveys done with maybe 100 people or 1,000 people, right? And these
Mhm.
surveys are not really, they don't give you
And
the
they have a
factual
vested
truth.
interest. They will do the same
Yeah,
survey in India
and also
saying
the
something else.
exactly, and the surveys are also, it doesn't really represent the actual the real people, right? They survey people who are probably somewhere on Bay Street, who are all half of them are millionaires, and they ask them, what's your feel, what's your take on this? Yeah, I'm happy, I drive a Lexus, I drive a Ferrari, or whatever, right?
I
So
like how you are dancing around with your neck.
yeah, like, these are the surveys. But do you really go to the indigenous people? Do you come to Brampton and ask people, go to the people who go to these community centers, and people who go to Salvation Army or any of those food banks, and ask them what it is, and they will tell you the real story, not people who
and
drive
and
Ferraris
you know
and
what?
right. So
Absolutely.
this
Absolutely. You
this
are
is the problem.
absolutely right. And I hear so many racism between the Indian community too when they go to the job places. Okay.
Oh yeah,
How they get
absolutely,
discriminated. There are
absolutely.
so many things doesn't get a report. They just go under the radar. Okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, we feel for this lady, what can you believe somebody calling your child, specimen? Oh my God.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and they need respect. And I am saying you, Bharat Marg always stands with the First Nations. Okay, and thank you for, you are doing an extensive study on the First Nation culture and all, and we are going to do some programs also in the upcoming weeks, because we see them, how they get treated. I see the same way our people get treated. We don't see anything difference here. But anyway, our heart goes with this lady. And friends, please like the video, comment, what do you think? Do you think Vinay Ji is right or wrong in what he is exposing? Okay, do you think racism and discrimination exist in Canada or not? Okay, do you have any personal experience? Please mention in the comment area. We will love to hear it. Maybe we will like to talk to you. Okay, thank you, Vinay Ji, and for coming in and
Thank you, Ji.
sharing your wisdom with us. Appreciate it highly. Hare Krishna.
All right.
Hare
Sorry.
Krishna.